What's up everybody, today in the shop I have a 2008 Hyundai Santa Fe, and the customer complaint with this one was that it overheated. The temperature gauge went to red, so she pulled over on the side of the road and I went there. Emergency, it was late night, and I tried to fill it up with coolant and it was empty. So I filled it up, it took about 2 gallons, and turned the car back on, tried to let it bleed out. And as I was doing that, the coolant started coming back up and it was black. Like horrible, right? Her second complaint was that the heater was not working. So I went over here, I felt the heater core lines right there, both of them were cold. So something fishy was going on. And so I was thinking either it's going to be a clogged heater core or a thermostat or whatever, but I had to do the diagnostics. So let me turn on the car and let me tell you guys what I found. Alright, so car is on now, everything seems fine when it's cold. But as I let it get up to temperature and let that thermostat open, not only did I get that bubbling, but when I brought it back here to diagnose it, I noticed there's no coolant flow here. Now if you look at the way the system works, there's a lower radiator hose down there which you can't see, and then the upper one, this is the return. So when the water pump is pumping, you should see flow right here because the filler is right there. You should be able to see the flow. This was a bit lower too, so I could clearly see it. It was just stable, no flow at all. And while I had the car, I wasn't able to recreate the overheating, but under load, I'm assuming it's overheating. So anyways, I let it sit here and idle for a bit, and I noticed that every once in a while would be a big puff of steam coming up, and as soon as that happened, you would hear a sound from right here. You would hear like a screeching sound. So what does that tell me? That tells me the water pump's bad, and it's probably dripping through the weep hole, and that's where that steam is coming from. It's evaporating, hitting the hot part, whatever. So right off the bat, I could tell you this car needs a water pump, unfortunately. What I also did is a pressure test, so we'll do that real quick just to prove that the system has no leaks. And I also did a combustion gas test. So we'll do both of those just to confirm our diagnostics and show you guys that. But all this car needs at this point is a water pump. What I'm assuming is happening is that the propeller has separated from the actual pulley. So the water pump's able to spin up a bit, but it definitely doesn't have enough pressure to make it all the way to the heater core. That's why those lines were cold, and you also barely see flow here. So anyways, let's do our tests. Let's make sure that we're 100% correct, and then we'll get to replacing that water pump and timing belt if we need to. Alright, so what I did is I just used the fluid extractor and I pulled a little bit of coolant out because I just wanted to show you guys that there's absolutely no flow. There's supposed to be flow coming in from this pipe, and you should see it moving there. And at this point, it's warm, the thermostat's open, but there's still nothing. Sometimes you'll see it moving barely, but yeah, that water pump seems to be bad. So next, let's get the combustion gas tester on it. What that's going to test for is for combustion gases in the coolant. If we see combustion gases, then we know the head gasket's bad. Obviously, that's a concern because she said she overheated it all the way to the red. But otherwise, if that passes, we'll do a pressure test and then we'll continue. Alright, so I have the tester on. All you do is you fill it with the fluid. It's the special blue fluid. It'll be blue colored, and then you put it on here and you give this manual pump a pump. I like the manual one better than the ones that you're supposed to find a vacuum source for. Anyways, I'm just going to give this about 60 pumps, 60 to 120, whatever you're comfortable with. And if it doesn't turn yellow, then you're good. If it turns yellow, then you have combustion gases and your head gasket's done for. So anyways, let me do this and I'll be back. Alright, so I did about 60, 70 pumps, and the fluid is still blue. So our head gasket's good on this car. We don't have to worry about that. You could obviously do a leak down test if you wanted to really make sure, but head gasket's fine. So next, let's turn the car off. Let's do a pressure test. Alright, so I got the pressure tester kit. I got the correct cap for this car, so just go ahead and fit that on. And then you get the pressure pump, you fit that on, and you go ahead and pump it up to, you look at the actual cap. So this one says 1.1, so that's bars. So you're going to pump it up to 1.1 bar, which is right around 15 psi. So let's do that. There you go, right above 15 psi. And I would just let this sit here for 10-15 minutes or whatever. Make sure it doesn't drop down. If it doesn't drop down, you're good. Alright, so it's been about 10 minutes. You can see we're right where I pumped it at. It was a little bit above 15 psi. So let's go ahead and release the pressure. Now, one more thing you would want to do, which I'm not going to do right now because I did it off camera. Again, this isn't like my normal videos. I wanted this to be shorter just because the last video was 40 minutes long and the video before that too. So anyways, the other thing you would do, hook up your scanner, look at live data, look at the temperature, look at the fans, make sure the fans are functioning. In this case, I've already done that. I bidirectionally controlled both the high and low speed of the fans. I also made sure that they were being commanded on when the car was getting up to temperature, and it was. Car got to like 90 or 100 degrees Celsius, and the fans got commanded on. So that's all good. The coolant temperature sensor is reading fine. Everything's fine. All we have to do is replace that water pump. So let's get to it. Okay, so water pump on this car is driven off the timing belt, unfortunately, behind this cover. Now, that's not too big of a deal because if you look at the sticker, it says 313. So March of 2013 is when the timing belt was last changed, if the sticker is accurate. And so at the time of recording, I think that's exactly 12 years. So that's insane. That's way overdue. So it's a good thing we're replacing that. We'll get to see the condition of it. And it doesn't look too bad, honestly. We have plenty of space to work. If we get this engine mount out the way, we should be good. So let's get to it. First, I'm going to jack the engine up from underneath to support it, take this engine mount off, take this belt off, and then see if we have to take any pulleys or anything off. And we'll just go step by step. Let's get to it. Alright everybody, I made a bunch of progress. So first I got the serpentine belt off. Then I had to work on getting that engine mount thing off, which is right there. That thing was so difficult, but I got it. Pretty much all I had to do was remove the rear timing belt cover. So once I did that, that was free to come out. And then this one comes out without any trouble, and then the lower one. I also got the engine in time, and I drew these lines just so you could see. There's a timing mark on the black, and then there's a timing mark on the belt that lines up with the timing mark on the actual gear / sprocket. There's nothing else notable here. The lower timing cover does have these timing marks, so you see that, you line that up with that, and then you'll be able to zap that off. And yeah, that's it. It's a very simple system, honestly. Like, I got it to this point in less than an hour. So there's the tensioner, there's a pulley, and then right up there you could see the water pump, the middle one, another pulley over there. So very simple. I'm gonna pull the belt off and get it changed, but before I do that, I did want to show you guys the failure point. So if you guys could see, it's all wet over here. You see all that? That's the water pump. That's the weep hole. As I was expecting, it's leaking through the weep hole. So our diagnostics was correct. Let's pull out this old belt, and then we'll get all the old components off, and we'll slap on a new belt and water pump. Let's do it. Alright guys, so I got the timing belt off. Condition is not too great. You could see cracks in it, so good thing we're changing it. But look at this. This is the water pump right here. It doesn't spin at all. It's completely locked up. And you could see how it's all wet over there. So the diag was 100% spot on. This is crazy. This is insane. I've never seen anything like this. I don't even know how this was running so quietly, but yeah, that's it. No wonder this area has been hot this whole time, and I didn't run the engine for that long. So I was like, what's going on? But it's all this. The belt was just rubbing on this instead of spinning it like it should. So anyways, yep. We found the problem, 100%. Let's get this changed out, and this car will be good as new. Alright, so I got all the water pump bolts out. I'm going to remove it now. I kind of cracked it loose to let the water drain out so you can see that. But let's get it out. Let's assess the damage. Alright, so right off the bat, obviously this is not spinning, which is insane. Like, it's completely stuck. But what I'm more worried about is the actual water pump housing. So if you look in here, you could see it's all grooved up. Like, that's not good at all. Oh yeah, look at the impellers on the water pump. You could see how they're all scratched up. So this was rubbing against the actual engine. And yeah, that's not good. So hopefully, I'm gonna clean this up as much as I can, but hopefully that didn't cause any damage, because this causes metal shavings to go all throughout the coolant, and that also explains the black fluid that we saw, the black coolant that we saw. That's just metal shavings that have been dissolved in water. So yeah, that's not good. I'm gonna work on cleaning this up now, clean up the gasket surface, and then only thing we could do is go back in with the new parts now. So yeah, let me get to it. Alright, so I just got the water pump installed, new gasket, tighten all the bolts down. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to pressure test the system to make sure we're not leaking before I put everything back together. As you saw in the Audi video, it's always a good idea to check your work as you go. So let me do that, and then if it holds pressure, we'll continue buttoning everything up. Alright, got it pumped up, 1.1 bars, just like the spec is, and I do not hear any leaks whatsoever. It's been holding for a while, so I believe we're good to go. I'm gonna still let that sit for a few minutes while I button everything up, but yeah, while that's sitting, we could throw on the new pulleys, the new belt, start putting everything back together, and then I got a few other things for this car. Alright, I got the new belt on. I don't know how much of that you guys caught, but it's always a struggle. It's funny, to get it down to this part is so easy, but to get the belt back on, that's the hardest part. So anyways, it's basically a dance. You gotta do like hip back and forth with these cams, moving back and forth until you get tension here, tension here, tension here. But where you don't want tension is where the actual tensioner sits. So you can see on this side it's loose. That's because the tensioner is gonna push right here and give it tension. So we don't want there to be any tension there, right? So you gotta move these back and forth until you get it. And yeah, you could see I used the zip tie method. It's actually the first time I ever did that, but yeah, everything looks good. So I'm gonna throw the tensioner on there now, pull the pin, and then we're gonna rotate the engine twice and make sure everything lines back up. If it does, we'll be good. We could actually fire this thing up before throwing anything back, but yeah, let's do that. Alright, so I got the tensioner on. The camera fell, so you guys didn't catch it, but what happened is this, like when I lifted this up to fit the tensioner in, the top cam right here, this one went out of time. It skipped back a tooth, so that was unfortunate. I had to do this all over again off camera, but you could see I got a double zip tied now, and got everything in time. Tension's all proper, so yeah, let's pull the pin. Time for the most satisfying part. Alright, well that was on the film phone, but that's exactly what you want. So now we could install the the crank bolt, and then give it 2 rotations to make sure everything is still in time. And then I think we can fire it up after that. Alright, so I did 2 rotations of the crank, and you could see everything lines up exactly where it should. Actually, you guys could probably see that better than I can, so yep, perfect. So now let me take this back off, we'll slap all the covers on, and we should be able to start it. Alright guys, so I got everything installed, all the timing covers, the belts, everything. So let me go open up the garage door and we will give it its first start, which is always nerve-wracking, but let's do it. Pray for the best. Alright, first start in the Santa Fe. Here we go. Smooth. No weird noises. One of the pulleys did have a little bit of a sound, but that's just the serpentine belt pulley, so I'm gonna have to order that and replace that later. But for now, it's perfectly fine. Nothing's wrong with it. Let's fill it up with coolant, let it reach up to temperature, and if that works and the heater works, we're done with this car. Alright, so I got the vacuum bleeder on it. You guys already know the deal. Let's go ahead and see, I even got the proper coolant. Perfect, and then I'll bleed this, fill the system, and I'll be back. Alright, it's filled up now. Beautiful, proper blue coolant. Everything's good. We can start it up now, let it get up to temperature, and if the heater works, we're done with this car. A little bit of bonus footage. You know, no timing job is complete without the sticker. So let's put this on there, because the last one was from 2013. Alright, so we got the date, mileage, and the logo. Looks awesome. Next thing I have for this car is an axle. So if you look here, you can see the axle is just torn. It's leaking grease everywhere. So want to change that out. I already took the cotter pin out. It was very stubborn, and all I have to do is just take this out, which broke loose pretty easily. So let's get this out, and then after that, all I have to do is remove the axle from the actual spindle. So I think I'll take off these 2 shock bolts, take it out, and it should be a pretty basic axle job. I'll put you guys on a time lapse and we'll get this done. Alright guys, so as you saw, I just did the axle. It was a bit of a struggle. It was really stuck in there. I had to get under and hit it with the pry bar and a hammer, but Now we're gonna do the valve cover gaskets. This one's pretty simple, the back one. I'm not looking forward to, but let's get to it because it's leaking pretty bad. Actually, I could show you. She said she was seeing drops of oil on the floor. I looked everywhere. I looked at the oil pan, all of that, and it was all dry. But I checked the valve cover gasket and my hand got wet. So yeah, let's do these. Alright everybody, I got everything put back together. That rear valve cover might have been one of the worst valve covers that I have ever done. Like, I don't mind removing an intake actually. If you guys go watch that video with the Chrysler Town and Country or Dodge Caravan or whatever that was, I took that intake off in like 11 minutes I think. So intakes have never been scary to me. I don't know why, like a lot of mechanics, they shy away from doing, you know, valve covers or spark plugs with intake removals, or they charge it in the same amount. But this one I understand. This was one of the most difficult ones I did. They got so much unnecessary stuff and wiring and clips and everything all around here, and these vacuum hoses that were stuck. There's another one underneath. There's 2 brackets back here. Just a mess. But I got everything done, got it all put back together. Both valve covers are done. All the pulleys, everything is good. We even did new spark plugs just because we were there. You can't do them any other way, so we might as well. Got the new axle as you saw. So now I want to give it its first start and official warm-up, take it for a test drive, and we should be done with this. Alright, so first real start after all that work. Let's see how it goes. Sounds smooth. Let's go check out the engine. Idling down. Perfect. No weird noises, no weird smells. Awesome, this is great. So let's take it for its first test drive. Let's make sure it's driving good and we'll be done with this finally. Alright, so I got it out onto the road, and I had some live data put up on my scanner, but my scanner died. However, I did take a look at fuel trims and fuel control, all that. We're in control. Fuel trims are literally 0, like 0 to 1%, so it's perfect. Take my word on that. But yeah, only thing we could do now is just drive it. Beautiful. Man, these cars are so slow. This is like one of the slowest V6s I've ever driven. But not meant to be fast. Engine's running beautifully, transmission's good, we didn't touch that. And most importantly, is the heat working? Absolutely. It's hot, used to blow cold. So this car is fixed. I'll let it get up to temperature, but I have no doubts about that. Like I said, I wish we replaced the thermostat too while we were doing all that work, but thermostat's not the issue, so I'll let it warm up and we'll prove that and give this back to the customer. So I'll take it on my normal test loop and be back when it's warmed up. Alright, car's warmed up, got a good stretch of road. Let's give it a pull. Super smooth, drives good. Like I said, this car is done and I've been driving it for a few minutes now, 10-20 minutes, and no overheating, so it's officially done. This car is good. I know this was a more rushed video. I tried to make it shorter, so I still hope you guys enjoyed that. I still hope y'all learned something, and I'll see y'all next time.